Okay, I would like to call the meeting of the Falmouth School Committee to order, please. So first, we would like to pledge allegiance to the flag, which is over here. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So I'm happy to welcome everybody to our first out of the administration building. It's part of our tag along with Lori in the listening and learning that we're trying to do this year. And we apologize that some of the announcements didn't indicate our new venue. Well, it's not new, it's just for this meeting, but we're working on getting that out. Okay. As a matter of fact, we're going to ask our secretary to inform the public where the next meeting will be if it's not at its normal place. Okay, so the first, I would like to, I think before I said what I just said, I should have read the legal part of the meeting taping, which is this statement. I remind everyone that this meeting is being telecast and recorded on Channel 14. I also remind any member of the public who wishes to make an audio or video recording of the open session of this meeting to first notify me as chair, and I will then inform the public of the recording as required by the open meeting law.
I will be making a recording, audio recording for my note-taking purposes. Steve Withrop in the Falmouth Enterprise.
Okay, thank you very much. And it will be of the entire meeting?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I would also like to start our meeting as we're going to do this year with reading our mission and core statement and then the role of the school committee. The mission of the Falmouth Public Schools is to educate students so that they are engaged in their education in a way which develops their capacity to pursue their goals and fosters lifelong learning. The three core beliefs are continuous improvement for students, teachers, staff, and administrators, enthusiasm for teaching and learning, and collaboration in teaching and learning. The role of the school committee is threefold. It is to write policy, to approve the operating budget, and to hire the superintendent and to support her in carrying out her initiatives for the district. In future, I'm going to ask my colleagues to read these statements, save my voice, okay? The third thing that I will read at the beginning of every meeting is public comment notice. So please limit comments to 2 minutes per individual to items not on this meeting agenda. There will be no debate or action taken on public comment items. The committee will take items under advisement, or the individual may request an item to be placed on a future agenda. Are there any public comments? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to the first. Okay, we will move on to the fishbowl. We have initiated a new, I'll just explain it again, I won't do it after this meeting, because I know the public's just waiting with bated breath now for this part of the agenda. We ask students in the elementary schools, in the middle schools, and in the high school to send us comments whenever they want. To make it easier, we've supplied little slips of paper, and we ask them to write their comments, and we put them into that bowl over there. There's 3 color codes for the 3 different levels. So each week we are very happy to read what our clientele, the students of Falmouth High School, have to say. So this week's turn is Mr. Fernari to read the comments.
Okay, this one is from Emma at the Lawrence School. I love my principal because he's always super nice and does what's best for us. So that's a very good one.
Thank you.
It's for Tom Bush.
You have to read one from each.
Oh, okay.
That's what, a white one.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
So we
right,
don't
okay, so that
have
was
that one back
Lawrence.
in there.
So put that.
We're still tweaking the.
This is from Henry at North Falmouth Elementary. My teacher lets me share my thoughts and opinions. Okay. And then from Falmouth High School, we have Roxana. My school inspires me to voice my opinion, even if it's unpopular, as our school and community is diverse in its beliefs.
Good comments.
Do we have one from Morse?
No, it's.
Lawrence and Morse are together.
Lawrence and
Oh, they
Morse
are?
are together.
Oh, sorry.
They're
Okay.
together,
All
okay. We so appreciate, I'm going to say it again, I hope some students are listening. We so appreciate hearing from you. Okay, because over and over again, we say we're here doing the legal and all that, and the everyday comings and goings sometimes elude us. So anyway, keep them coming, kids, all right? Okay, I hope I didn't miss anything else, because now I'm going to go to the first act item on the agenda. It is to act on a donation of a DVD duplicator and DVD printer from Karen Hart. Can we have a motion so that we can discuss this?
I motion that we accept the donation of a DVD duplicator and DVD printer from Karen Hart.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Oh, can we have a discussion? Because we don't have any information about it.
Oh, we have to put it on the floor before we can get the information. That's what I meant. Everyone's ready to talk about it. Okay.
Yeah.
So do we know anything about it?
Yeah,
Yes,
because there wasn't anything
Would you like me
in
to
there.
share some information?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's a Perfect Image Protege 2 is the DVD duplicator. Perfect Image Autostar 2 DVD printer. It is a used system, but it is worth at least $4,000. It is being donated. The purpose of the DVD duplicator and printer is mainly so that we can duplicate our graduations, our performances. So it is for duplication of those items and performances that we actually, so it's not, we will not invade any copyright rules during this, just so you say, well, but it are those DVDs that we actually make. And we will not, this, you know, we have no, it is a used product, it will probably last a very long time. But we don't intend to put any further money into it, so when it's kind of gone, it's gone. Yeah.
Can I ask a question about that?
Yes?
Terry, thank you. Currently, do we pay for somebody to duplicate, like graduation and things?
You want to jump in? Currently, we have a duplicator.
We
It's
do.
smaller. It won't do, like, this will do an automatic batch of hundreds if you wanted it to.
Okay.
This
so
is like 10 at a time, and it
So
takes
it
a,
saves time.
it's a very time consuming. Yes.
Awesome.
Excellent.
Time isn't an
Yes, Andrea?
And that maybe because you answered my question, is where is this going to be housed? Where is this primarily going to be used?
It'll be here at the high school,
At the high school.
in the tech department.
Right next door.
Ryan's
got it.
Right.
Ready
And
to
that
roll.
was Ryan Weber behind the camera that gave us more information.
He'll be able to duplicate this
He will-
as
he
many
will-
times
he
as
will.
we need.
Are you excited about this, Ryan?
Definitely.
Not to put you on the spot.
Are there any other questions or comments?
Thank you, Karen.
Okay, so now I guess we'll take a vote on accepting this donation. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstaining? Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, and thank
Thank you,
you
Sarah.
to Karen Hart for this donation. The next item on the agenda is going to be tabled. It says on the agenda that we were to act on the field contractor. We have received a letter from CDM Smith that Lawrence Lynch, the lowest bidder, did not meet the minimum requirements, which are from the Office of the Attorney General. And CDM is now in the process of vetting the second lowest bidder. We hope to have this information soon, and we will have we are going to have a special meeting later in the week on Thursday dealing with this item when we receive more information. The meeting will be at 6 p.m. It's an open meeting. It's posted as an open meeting, and it will be at 6 p.m. and it will be held in the administration building. Okay.
So,
Yes.
excuse me, on that, do we need a motion to table? Or could we just table it without having a motion?
You don't need a motion to table.
Thank you. I was going to ask you to look in the books we have because I'm not sure if you need a
I
motion.
would
to
just
table.
assume motion, I motion that we table it, that until further review.
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor of tabling this?
Aye.
Okay.
Better safe than sorry.
Anybody abstain
Yeah.
or say no? Okay. So the motion is, or the matter is tabled. Next, we will hear a report from the police and fire departments. Do you want to go alphabetically? Or do you want to go by age alphabetically?
First, so, I have to apologize. I've been the fire chief for a couple of years, but this is the first time that I've been in front of this committee formally, so I should probably introduce myself a little bit. Although I do know some of the players. My name's Michael Small. I'm the fire chief here in Falmouth. I've been a firefighter paramedic in Falmouth for a little bit more than 31 years. I started here and came up through the ranks here. Both of my girls went K through 12 in Falmouth. One of them has just started graduate school, and the other one is going to graduate from college. He's a senior this year, so thank you. So I want to thank you for that. So, I don't really have any fancy presentation or anything. I just had some talking points, and I figured I would just sort of tell you what we've been doing and what we're going to continue to do. And there are a couple sort of new initiatives or new things that we're doing in conjunction with the police to sort of address the kind of the new reality that we live in. So we continue to do, so on the fire prevention side, we continue to do all of the things that are required for us to do. 4 drills a year. One of those drills has to be within the first 3 days of school. That's already completed. We try and do the first 3. I got some talking points from the fire prevention officer. We try and do the first 3 in the fall to avoid bad weather and MCAS. But the first drill, which has already been concluded, that's already been done. We inspect, the fire prevention people inspect every school annually. We look at things like make sure that the egress is good. We look at the hood systems in the kitchens to make sure the hood systems are all good. That's all done in conjunction with the building department. We make sure the exits are good. We make sure the alarms are all up to date, and all the paperwork for the alarms is all good. That's all been done. One of the biggest things we want to continue to do is the SAFE program, which I'm sure all of you are aware of, which is where we have fire prevention people in every second grade class in the schools to talk about fire safety education. Not only is it strictly fire safety education, they touch on other things. They touch on ice education, ice safety education, which is huge, and it's been very successful. We haven't had an ice rescue involving a child in Falmouth in many, many years, and we're good with that. So it's working out very well. They talk about not just fire safety. They talk about helmet wearing, bicycle helmets and so forth. So we thank you and the teachers. My understanding is it's been pretty well received, and we're very happy to continue to do that, and we're going to continue to do that. Some of the other things that and Chief Dunn can help me on this too. We're starting to sort of take some proactive steps towards responding to hostile events in schools and in any place in Falmouth where a hostile event like that could occur. The National Fire Protection Association, which is the standards-making organization for the fire service that puts standards together for everything from levels of staffing to the protective gear that we wear to how many feet of hose that we carry on a fire truck, just came out recently with a standard called NFPA 3000, which is working title is ASHER, which stands for Active Shooter Hostile Event Response. And it's new. It's based on the NFPA from the fire side, looking at how the fire service in Falmouth, of course, fire and EMS are the same. It's where the same people that come on the fire truck come on the ambulance. So from the fire service side, to look at how we had been responding to these hostile incidents in the past, and to take some of that data that's available and some of the science that's available and some of the lessons learned, and roll that into a broad standard that we can begin to train on initially with our own people, and then subsequently to integrate with law enforcement. The police department and the fire department, before I was on the fire department, I was actually a police officer in Falmouth here for 3 years before I saw the light and went over to the fire side. And I can tell you that the relationship between the Falmouth Police and Falmouth Fire is outstanding, and it's not like that everywhere. We have an outstanding working relationship with them and have for a very long time. Not only at the command staff level, I talk with Ed all the time. We've met with Laurie on several occasions, but even my command staff meets with his command staff, even the street guys. Our working relationship is very, very good, and that's really key. So this ASHER standard, this active shooter standard, really just builds on that relationship, and it's a big open framework for us, for the fire service to act a little bit differently than we have in the past with situations like this. Primarily, the goal was for the law enforcement people to take injured victims out to what's effectively a cold zone, if you think of hot, warm, and cold zone. And history has shown that that really hasn't been that effective in a lot of circumstances. The idea is to get medical care quicker. So part of that medical care, so part of this ASHA response is to incorporate, the biggest thing is to incorporate what's called a rescue task force, which is one paramedic and a couple of police officers to enter into the warm zone and be able to begin that triage and treatment much quicker. That's a big paradigm shift than anything that we've ever done in the fire service, but it's been widely accepted. The fact that the National Fire Protection Association put a standard out tells you that that's the direction that we need to be going in. So that's going to be the next step. I actually have some money in upcoming capital for town meeting to update our personal protective equipment, and a substantial amount of that money is going to go toward Kevlar body armor for firefighters. Obviously, one of the other things that we've been active with in the fire department is a little bit different. Our EMS supervisor, we have Lieutenant O'Malley, conducted some Stop the Bleed training with all of the nurses, and that's ongoing. Stop the Bleed is a national organization, sort of an umbrella organization that provides equipment and guidance to effectively stop the bleed. It's basically training on tourniquets and hemostatic dressings and Israeli bandages, which are trauma dressings, so that in that unlikely event that it's necessary, that school staff is up to speed on that. That's begun, and that's going to continue. We also are obviously deeply, we're deeply engaged with the opioid crisis, and we're here to assist. I know we've conducted Narcan training, and we're here to assist to continue with that as well. The last thing I really want to touch on, and then you can let it rip at me, I know you folks probably were involved. There's a press release that came out today. We actually are having October 2nd, a mass casualty incident drill, police, fire, schools, and the hospital. And that press release that went out is kind of cryptic, and I hope that you folks don't sort of get any blowback on that. It's cryptic for a reason, because we really don't want to give away, you don't want to give away the test questions before you give the test. So that's why we sort of left it. It's a sort of a low-level mass casualty incident drill. We do them as regularly as we can. We haven't done one jointly in quite a while, so in talking with Lori after she first started, we thought this would be a really good way to do sort of a low-level. These drills are all about training, but part of the training component is that we need to evaluate how my people respond, how Chief Dunn's people respond, how your folks are going to respond. So that's why the rollout of it has been sort of vague. It's being done vaguely on purpose. So that's coming up October 2nd, and then after this first step with this mass casualty incident drill, the police and the fire department are going to start coordinating on incorporating this ASHA on a much wider level. It's going to be. I have some training to do with my folks first. He has some training to do with his folks second, and then the plan is in the immediate future to put it all together. But this training evolution that we're conducting on October 2nd is the first step in that. I did it all in one breath. So.
Before you go any further, could you identify ASHA again?
ASHA stands for Active Shooter Hostile Event Response. It's NFPA 3000. I brought it with me. It's about 12,000 little words and the NFPA standards are very technical. You can find it online if you want to look at it. But ASHA is an all-encompassing standard, primarily for the fire service. But it talks about a lot of things that we already do. Our interoperable communications are very good. Our incident command system is very good. Our ability to interface with evacuation protocol and so forth, those are things that we've already got in a somewhat of an informal setting already. I think that Falmouth is as reasonably prepared for something as this right now as we could ever be. This is just going to be a huge enhancement of it. And this is a really valid program because it's lessons learned. So sometimes operational things sort of happen in sort of a knee-jerk way. And in this particular case, this has been widely researched by people, and it's an effective way to hopefully deal with that situation that, hopefully will never happen. But I just want to, this training evolution that we're conducting on October 2nd really is the first step in that.
Okay, other questions or comments? Andrea?
Thank you for that. And I know that you said you don't want to give away any of the questions on the second, but will there be students involved in that?
Strictly role players, yes. There will be some student participation.
Let me just add that we did have parent permission, so a small number of students, all parents are aware of the drill, what it involves, and they have permission.
Because I guess I'm just thinking, I mean, this is great that we're talking about it now, that you've sent out the press release, but, you know, in this day and age, people can mistake that pretty easily for something really happening, and with social media, I just want to make sure that we're, you know, not letting it blow up into something that panics people unnecessarily.
We have a pretty good handle on that.
Great.
We think. We're trying. We think we have a pretty good handle on that.
The purpose of the press release in advance was to make sure that everyone knows it is a drill. The students from 2 of the schools that are participating will send out an alert to all of their families, so they know that it is just a drill. But the parents have been involved with this. And this is when we say mass casualty, I just want to, you know, kind of, but it's a bus accident. So that's where we're starting with the just bus accident. So.
We talked about this in meeting with the public safety entities, and for us, really, from our perspective, a mass casualty incident is a mass casualty incident is a mass casualty incident. For us, so this is we thought this would be a really great way to integrate all of the other components and to evaluate. But it's primarily a train. This is primarily this is a low speed training exercise. So we don't anticipate that there be any particular issues with it.
So that doing the things as a parent, as a tech dad or something like that?
Yeah,
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, Leah?
So the SAFE program, is that what it's called, SAFE program?
Student Fire Education.
So my son did this program last year in 2nd grade, and he loved it. He learned everything, and we have, you know, the little thing on our door and everything. But I'm wondering why 2nd grade and why only 2nd grade is for the SAFE program.
You know, it's been around for longer than I've been wearing gold. I don't know. I can certainly find out why it's targeted towards 2nd graders. I don't know the answer to that. That's a really good question.
I'm just thinking about our students who aren't here for 2nd grade, but are here for 4th grade or here for different. It is the ice information. I know my family likes to go ice fishing, and it's just really important information.
It would be difficult for us to sort of roll that. It's time consuming, and it would be difficult for us to do that for 4 grades. But it's been targeted toward some places do 1st graders, some places do 2nd graders. We've done 2nd grade for a long time. I don't know why 2nd graders were chosen. Somebody made that way before me. I'd be happy to get back to you on that.
Okay, I mean, it's really not that important, but there might be a real reason about why, but that's a really good age for kids. It definitely was for my son. I didn't hear about it from my daughters, though, which is weird, but he was really into it.
Maybe he wants to be a fireman.
Could be.
Yes?
I have a couple questions. So the mass casualty training or incident on October 2nd, will this be similar to the one that Barnstable held a short time ago?
I'm not familiar with what Barnstable held.
The airport.
The airport?
Oh,
mass
nothing of that
casualty?
scale. No, nothing of that scale.
Okay, so I work at Cape Cod Hospital, and one thing that I found helpful, even though nurses drove by it all day, including myself, and had been seeing the signs everywhere, this is just a drill, and I know that was a larger scale of what you plan on doing. But you might want to, you know, maybe throw something up in front of the police station. Today is just a drill.
I'll address that.
Okay. I forgot. Oh, the 2nd grade, getting back to it's sort of piggybacking on Leah's question with 2nd grade. We, many years ago, used to have a police officer in the area that used to come into all the schools and explain to the kids. I can remember him from elementary school all the way up through the high school that a bicycle is a vehicle. And, you know, helmets weren't big back then, but they were, you know, he taught us our hand signals, and he taught us bike safety and road safety. And I know that it's very time consuming to try to address Leah's, you know, could we do it at other grades? I feel like he did it before events that we had at like in the auditorium or whatnot. It might be worth looking at, because I think that when I think of bike safety, I can still hear him say a bicycle is a vehicle, and I can still hear him remind us all about how important it was. And I don't know about anybody else's kids, but my kids definitely need reminding, and my son too last year really enjoyed the SAFE program and came home and was very enthusiastic about it. But I don't know, again, maybe it's just my kids, but they really do well with constant reinforcement. And by do well, I mean we need to continue to reinforce. So just something to think about.
Absolutely.
I know that that's a lot of time, but even if it was just a quick before, assemblies, and it doesn't have to be the same person, maybe it could be I don't know, just reinforcement.
Fair enough.
Thank you.
Yes, John?
Yes, collectively, a lot of folks understandably, clamor for what can we do in the wake of a lot of these, tragic events. And it's very encouraging, both, Chief, both as a parent and as a committee member, to hear the breakdown of things that yourself and Chief Dunn and both your departments and Dr. Dorr and her team are doing on a daily basis to help do all you can to keep our kids and our staff safe. So thank you.
Thank you.
Again, the level of communication is, and we communicate with each other all the time. And that's very, very, very important. And we're working together toward this all the time. And we're going to continue to do that. So I appreciate that. I'll pass it on to the troops. The guys below me get all the credit. It's the people that do the work. I just sit here and look good.
Oh, wait, one more question.
Obviously, Melissa and I are on this bike safety, ice safety thing. Do you offer free helmets, or does the police department? No. Okay.
So I can look at, there have been times in the past where there were grants available. We would position at the bike path on a Saturday afternoon in the summer with a box of helmets, and every kid that rode by with a helmet would get a helmet. I certainly can look into that again, but that was based on a grant, and that was a few years ago. It was a great program.
Parkinson is big on that, and I
Sure
know
is.
he gave out a lot of helmets.
Right.
He'd be a good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be excellent if you could look into that.
My pleasure.
Sounds like a good senior project.
Maybe Dr. Parkinson and Dr. Lynn could help us with that,
With the grant.
bicycle safety in the schools.
Yeah, and potentially with some grant.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, well, we appreciate your taking time out of your busy schedule to inform us, and as you said, it's always good. Communication is always good. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chief.
Okay, and now,
Yeah, your name's gonna come up. Hello, and thank you. I know most of you, but those of you that don't know me, my name is Edward Dunn. I've been the police chief since 2012. I've been a police officer for 39 years as of August 30th here in the town of Falmouth, and I enjoy it. So, but again, thank you for allowing us to come in and talk about what we're doing with the school, the partnership and everything. First of all, I just want to say that, it has been an absolute pleasure working with Lori since she's been here, and we became very, very good friends early on this summer with the Morse Pond Gosno project. Actually, when I first met her, I gave her my cell phone number and told her, don't hesitate to call, and she didn't. But I just want you all to know, we've always had, the police department's always had a great partnership with the school, and that is still very strong. So, very pleased on that. Some of the programs that we're continuing to do this year are, substations that you allowed me to have a spot in the East Falmouth School, North Falmouth, in the administration building, to have computers on board there. That has worked out fantastic for the police department. It really has. And the benefit you get is that you have a police officer in your school at random times throughout the day. I've also talked about with Lori about expanding it even to the Morse Pond School. It's kind of like the forgotten school over there. So so I'd like to put a police officer, because I've heard from some of your staff before about having an SRO in there, And I just don't have the people to do something like that. So if we could have another room in there, to maybe the office is there every day, that might help the staff and everybody and the students. We continue to do daily walkthroughs at all the schools, several times a day through the shifts. The offices, that's their assignment. So even the schools that don't have computers in them, they do have offices that walk through them on a random basis, because all your schools just happen to be in all our districts. So all our officers are told it is part of their daily duty to walk through the schools, check with the office staff, say hi to the students, intermingle with them. So it's another way that we get to know the staff, and it also gets the officers to learn your school, the layout of the school. God forbid something happens, they know what the school's like. The Junior Police Academy, which we have held at the Morse Pond School. We plan on having it again this year. It's been very popular. I think this will be the 3rd year that we've had it, and I know there's usually a waiting list. So we're looking forward to doing that. I talked with Sergeant Cummings, who's in charge of it, and I think because you had a new principal and everything else, he was going to kind of let things settle in, our new director of after-school things. So we kind of let that settle in the beginning, but we plan on running that through the winter like we've done in the past. Our SRO program, School Resource Program, we still have one SRO, which covers both here at the high school and the Lawrence School, and that's still strong. Talk about some of the safety issues. We continue to meet with your school safety team, my command staff, along with, as Chief Small said, with the fire staff, to build programs that are best for the Falmouth school system. We have looked at some systems out there, such as ALICE, which those of you who aren't aware stands for ALICE training is Alert, Lockdown, Inform, Counter, and Evacuate. We also talked about Run, Hide, and Fight. It's just a different name for a different program that does about the same thing. And just this morning, so you know, your principals and some other staff got a taste of what ALICE was like. So I think it was received very, very well. And I would also offer to you, the school committee, if you ever want to see a demonstration of what ALICE really is, be more than happy to show you right up front. Should we decide to move in that direction with the schools, I have 2 certified ALICE trainers, so there'd be no cost to the school to hire instructors. I sent them away to school several years ago when ALICE first came about. We've trained several private companies in Falmouth. They've asked, we've trained them, their staff. We've trained the town hall staff in ALICE. What else came out of all this too, and as I said, just different companies coming up with different scenarios. It's all to protect yourself. What we are going to be offering this fall, and if any of you are interested in taking it, just follow us on our website. We are also have a program called, let me get it right, Civilians Response to the Active Shooter is what the title is. I sent an officer to New Hampshire to learn this. What this is, it's the basics. He'll be teaching, it's a 2-hour course, and he teaches you how to survive an active shooter event. Because as you know, and as you see from the news, a lot of these events happen in movie theaters, restaurants, malls. They're not just schools, in places of work. So we're going to offer that to the general public on how to survive an active shooter event. So again, if any of you are interested in that, we can do that also. But I also have a certified instructor in that. We are also going to be participating in the mass casualty event, and we'll stay cryptic on that. To answer, I said I would address that. We are going to use our electronic signs to let everybody know it's a drill. We use them all the time, especially when our SRT, which is the Special Response Team, when we train. If we train here at the school, which we've done, or we train in homes, we have those signs out there too, because we make a lot of noises with flashbangs and things like that and gunshots, so people really want to know that it's an active drill. And we are going to have those available. And it's also going to be on our Facebook pages that there is a drill today. So that should calm everybody down. And that was the conversation we had this morning about the posting in the newspaper, which is cryptic, because again, we expect the press will be participating in this, because as in any event, press show up. So we didn't want to give them all the inside story either. So, but it's enough, I think, to put people's, at ease as to what is happening. So we look forward to participating in doing that. Just so you also do know, I mean, Falmouth has been participating in, we continue with our lockdown drills. We're not changing that. We have continued with that. And I just want you to know that Falmouth really is so far advanced than other districts. And the reason I can say that, and I'll say it with, a lot of certainty, is I have a lot of chiefs asked to come and witness what we do. One thing that comes to mind real quick, the reunification drills. There are a lot of districts out there that are not doing reunification drills yet. We've taken it to that next level that we're already doing the reunification drills. So I just want to assure you and the families that, we really are advanced in keeping our students safe and getting them back to, their parents and everything else. So, and like I said, I get that feedback from other chiefs who want to come and witness what we're doing and basically not reinvent the wheel and take from lessons that we've done. On an education side with the police department, I'm happy to say, you all familiar with Hidden in Plain Sight? We've held that event here. We also held it at the Seacrest, I think, a year ago. I am pleased that a lot of people have come to this, but I always heard from different parents was, oh, geez, I wish I could have seen that because I had soccer, I had baseball, I had this, I had that, whatever. So we're going to take it to them. I have gone out and purchased a brand new 22-foot trailer, and we're going to make a mobile Hidden in Plain Sight, partnering with the school system, and we're going to bring that to sporting events, school open houses, street fairs, Barnstable County Fair, wherever I can take it. Students will not be allowed in it, but parents will be allowed in it. I purchased that trailer with, I think the money was well spent, drug profits that had been seized by drug dealers. And just today, we had, or yesterday, we had the carpet barn actually put flooring in it for us. And we're going to finish it as I'm going to have the sheriff's going to be assisting. We're going to be building a bedroom in there. It's going to look like a bedroom. And we are going to take this out to the public. And I think it's really going to be a great piece of education that we can all be proud of. Because as far as I know, there's nobody in New England that has one, a mobile one. There are mobile ones. In fact, if you Google Hidden in Plain Sight trailers, you'll see the ones, but they're usually out in the Midwest and things like that. So I'm really proud of this, and I think it's going to be a great partnership with the school. And anybody that donates items to it, name will be on the side of the trailer as being a partner with us to educate parents about their students. When you talk about the bike safety thing, not that I want to bring that up again, but I do. Our offices, we have offices on bike patrol, and we do reward children who wear their helmets. We have little gift cards to, we had them to Dairy Queen, 7-Eleven for Slurpees and things like that when our officers are on the bike patrols. And if they weren't wearing a helmet, we still gave them one too. But told their parents, told them, and things like that. As Chief Small said, when we had grant money, we did purchase helmets and things like that. But right now, there's no grant money for that. So, but we're looking forward to doing some things. We also participate with the, I think the John Wesley Church has a bike rodeo, and we've been there to participate and talk about bike safety and things like that. It is all about keeping them safe. So that's pretty much what the police department's doing with your, schools, and I'm here to answer any questions you have.
Okay.
I have a quick one, I promise.
Oh, that's what they all say.
Yeah, I
Go
know.
ahead.
I know, because they never show up, so. What about High Five Fridays?
We're going to continue those still.
Okay, good. Told you it was quick.
Yeah, it was good.
They're great, it's great.
Yeah, that was
The
my exact
kids
question.
love it.
Okay.
Yes,
they do.
The kids love it, and the officers love it also.
Yeah, it's just such a great
Bill?
thing. Great.
Yeah, I think SROs are tremendous. I think every building should have one because there's such a push for safety within Commonwealth, states, federal, so they say. Is there any money down the road that may come towards you for additional SROs?
Back in 2008, prior to the economy tanking, we had 2 SROs. We had one in the Lawrence School and we had one in the high school. But as we all familiar back then, 2009, 2010, when the economy tanked, all towns were affected by that. And I lost a lot of people, as well as we were up to 66. Currently, we're at 59. A lot of it's not even money, it's people. To be able to put in the schools. I have been speaking with the town manager about more people, and as I get more people, then we can probably talk about putting more SROs in the school. There was a very short window where we didn't have any SROs in the school. We had to pull them all out because we needed them to answer calls, but we were able to get one back in the school. But that's why we've started these, that's why thinking out of the box, to have the substations and to have the walkthroughs, it's probably not the ideal, what people would really love to see,
Visibility.
but it's the visibility on a random time, so that's the best I can do for now.
Yes, gotcha, thank you.
Leah?
How are SROs paid? Is that,
Half of it's the school pays, and the other half the bill I pay.
okay, so it's
So while they're in school, that was an agreement that came into play many years ago when the whole SRO program started. During the school year, you pay their salary, and the rest of the year I pay their salary. It's a shared.
Megan?
she was,
Oh, okay.
I had a couple things. One, I'm just so glad to hear about that mobile unit. The very first time I saw Hidden in Plain Sight, I thought, we need to get this out to people, and I'm so glad you took the steps to make that happen. So I think that's going to be a great thing. In regards to SROs, I know when you look at numbers nationally, often increased police presence in schools can have detrimental outcomes on some marginalized portions of those schools. And I guess I'm just wondering, are there specific trainings that SROs can go to or can continue to go to get that information to help build those relationships and work with all students within those schools?
Yes, our SROs go to it's at least a week, it might be 2-week program before they start as SROs. And then there is continuous throughout the year that we do send them to classes. I think they just went to one just recently here with the superintendent, right?
Actually, Mary Gaines.
Oh, Mary Gaines.
Yes, well.
Yeah, so any of that training that is available, we do send them to that. So that's a constant,
That's great.
yeah.
And my last little question was, I heard that there were specific number of fire drills that were required per year. Is there a number related to lockdowns or?
We usually do them twice a year. There's no specific number, but we usually do them twice a year. And like I say, we're so far advanced, not even the principals know when they're coming. Because we used to do it that way, but in the real world, it doesn't happen that way. So we've progressed so much, and we're so confident, and when they're done well. And again, we can invite any of you to that. We'll let you in on that secret that day, and you should really come and see a lockdown to see how fast you have an active school that goes completely quiet.
Megan?
So my question is regarding the ALICE training. So from what I've researched and learned, it is quite a lengthy training process. And I know you said you had 2 certified trainers, but those 2 trainers would have to go into all the schools, train all the teachers, and then is there training for the students as well? I'm just trying to get like a feel for the time frame. It's not something that, happens in a couple weeks.
We wouldn't train the whole district all in 1 year. You would start with the staff, of course. And then it would be up to the superintendent. I mean, it's going to be piecemeal, and we may not adopt all of what Alice is. It's a canned product. You take what you need for your school system, and we will make that decision as a team what is needed for the Falmouth school system to keep the Falmouth people safe.
Do the students traditionally get trained in it?
There is a portion that they can be trained in. Again, there's different levels, but yes.
Melissa?
I had a couple questions. First, thank you to the Carpet Barn for putting in the flooring. I'm sure that was very helpful. You had mentioned donations. What sort of donations were you looking for in the mobile trailer?
Well, we're gonna need we need to make it look like a bedroom. So we were gonna reach out to some other people as far as we need beds, dressers, you know, whatever's in a kid's bedroom. That's why I got a 22-foot trailer. It'll take a lot. We'll be able to build it quite to replica a bedroom, and we have other agencies in town that we're talking with now about donations, and Sergeant Donahue is kind of the lead on this. I'm giving her all the credit for it because she's one of the first one who was certified in hidden in plain sight and participated here with the school. So.
And you had mentioned that you were speaking with the town manager, looking for more officers. Will that be a town meeting?
I don't know if it's gonna. I know there's an article.
How can we help you?
I believe somebody put an article in. It wasn't on my behalf. It was on their own behalf. I'm speaking with the town manager and the financial director on my end of it, on the budget end of it, as to what I would like to see moving forward in the future. Because
I know of a citizen that wouldn't want it. So I just want to know how we can support and
I appreciate it.
encourage.
I appreciate it. I mean, as you know, we had an incident this summer. It wasn't. I wouldn't say it wouldn't have happened whether we had more people or not. It's just one of those things. But as I did say, we used to have two SROs, and I had more detectives. But again, I understand budget cuts and things like that. But now it's time to really start thinking about moving ahead and starting to restaff some of the unfunded positions. Thank you, though, for the support.
John?
I was going to mention offline, but since it came up, I have no doubt that Clark Quinn, our general manager, would fully endorse Seacrest giving a bed and nightstands and whatnot for the mobile as well.
Great, thank you.
I have just one question. Everybody else has their comments. Alice, you have to look at the age of children, correct? Or is that what you meant by you take out what you need from the...
You take out from the can what you want to teach.
Okay.
That's the easiest way to say it. Because if you really get into Alice, and you can see the videos, they're online. I mean, there's no secret what happens. Start throwing things again. What age do you want people throwing things? So.
One last question.
Yes?
So if you had offered for us to see Alice in
Mhm.
action, how would we do that? What would we?
We could do it before one of your meetings, or I can have the officers. We can give you a real quick 20-minute quick.
I would like that.
I would like that.
Yeah. So maybe we can just
We can put
at
that
the
on
end
the
of the meeting
follow-ups?
we'll
Yeah.
talk about that as
Yeah.
a follow-up. That'd be great.
And the lockdowns as well, because
Yeah.
I think, we talk a lot about that, but, we haven't been in school in a long time, so it would be nice to
I would definitely
see
like
firsthand
to
what that looks
see
like for our
firsthand.
kids.
Yep.
Just make sure we're not all at one school.
Or in the way, more
Yeah, I mean-
importantly.
And when I offer to, it'll be a real quick demonstration as to what. So you'll have a pretty good idea. You can Google it, you can watch it on there, but when it's actually happening to you, it's different.
Yeah, I think that'd be awesome.
And one thing that we hear from the safety things is the generation that's here now, I'm ever thoughtful of things that are different for them safety-wise, that impacts their day. I mean, we used to worry about getting a detention or copying somebody's homework and getting caught, but there's things in their lives that people who are older in our generation cannot fathom. So thank you for taking the time to indicate the things that we do in our normal daily. It's not just reading, writing, arithmetic. No. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so next on our agenda is our first highlight on education. It's another one of those steps we're taking for information, bringing more information. Throughout the course of the agendas during the school year, we will have visits from schools throughout our system, and I can see that Mrs. Gantz has some students with her. while they're setting it up, could I plug our maroon slips to you guys?
Oh, you know,
Have
so
you
all
heard
of you
about-
don't know what the little slips
Oh,
that
yeah,
I, that, I'll pass more around.
You want to know why? Because the bowl is colorless. See?
Without the
There's-
maroon.
Without the maroon.
It has a little prompt that
Yeah.
says Falmouth High School and does X, Y, and Z.
And if you can write in a whiteout pen, it would help.
Yes, it helps a lot.
But we truly like to hear what you guys think about, you know, what, I mean, you're our customers, you're our clientele, so we want to make sure we're giving you a good product, so just a push for those. I live right down the street, so I'm gonna come in and stand in the halls with someone big.
Maybe there's a way to do the paper a lighter maroon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Maybe
They all said
to do
that.
it.
I can't even write on this.
Yeah, maybe it needs to be
It was
online for
very
high
difficult for us
schoolers.
to find more.
They can write, I can't just see.
We could just
a
put the
link.
white label things on there for the kids.
An online survey link.
Or just
for
make
them.
one side maroon, the other side white. I'm sorry.
All right, here we go.
Okay, here we go,
So
Mary.
I'm Mary Gans, as you know, the principal, a very proud principal at Falmouth High School, and I brought 4 wonderful seniors with me who were very generous to take some time away from their busy schedules and their homework to come and answer any questions you may have tonight about Clipper Time. But do you want to introduce yourselves? Q, you want to start?
Sure. I'm Charles. I sometimes go by Q.
I'm Marissa McNevin.
Kira Fury. I'm Georgia Gans. Yeah, no conflict, but that's. So I know you've all heard me talk about Clipper Time ad nauseum, so I'll go through the presentation relatively quickly. And there's a wonderful little 3-minute video at the end that Ryan Weber was instrumental in putting together. So thank you very much, Ryan, for doing that. And then I figured you could hear directly from the students because the seniors actually had their freshman year without Clipper Time, and they've had the past 3 years with Clipper Time, so I thought their perspective would be the best because they've experienced both. So here's just a little snapshot of Falmouth High School. That's pretty much just our demographics, our numbers. And you know the story behind Clipper Time. It started with a NEASC advisory personalized learning requirement. Also, when I came on board here in 2015, I heard a lot from students and parents and guardians about school stress, homework stress, how could we alleviate that? And in looking at this program, it also aligned with our school improvement plans and our district strategic plan. What is Clipper Time? It's a 33-minute period during every day. We call it a flexible block that's used for extra help. And on Mondays, the students meet with their Clipper Time mentor, and they schedule themselves for Clipper Time for Tuesday through Friday. What we did was we shortened each period by 6 minutes to put this block in. We were very conscientious and deliberate about where the block would fit, because if it was at the beginning of the day, we have some students who have a late arrival. If it was at the end of the day, some students have an early dismissal. We had to be cautious of lunch periods, so this fit in very perfectly right before lunch. It's academic time, it's very student-driven, it's very personalized, and it is meeting the needs. It's targeted to meet the needs of every student every day, which is Dr. Doerr's motto, and I really believe that Clipper Time fits into that. The practical pieces, here's just a little snapshot of what the schedule looked like before and after. Oh, and I will say, so the copy that you have, I gave Sharon an earlier version with some typos, so I apologize for that. So this one up there, if you want another one I could share, I happily could have it shared with you. But this is the accurate version. So that shows the 6-minute shaved off of each period and exactly where Clipper Time falls during the day. And that's sort of a block picture of what it looks like during the day. And this is my daughter's own schedule. So you can see on their schedules on Power School, Clipper Time fits right in there. And it doesn't say what course, it just stays this way on Power School because it changes every day. The software we use to actually do the scheduling is separate from Power School, and that software, the schedule looks like this. So students can look up even on their phones or their computers what their weekly Clipper Time schedule looks like, and this is what it will look like for them. So you can see on Monday, this was Georgia's schedule from last week. Monday is her mentor day. Her mentor is a guidance counselor who is not her guidance counselor, and that was the goal, was to have another adult in the building associated with a student, developing a relationship with a student just as another, hopefully, trusted adult. We're in Clipper Time year 3 now. The faculty voted to continue it this year again. And in June, we did a survey. After the seniors left, we surveyed grades 9 through 11. 485 students completed the surveys. There was overwhelmingly positive results. Out of the 485, we had 4 students who were critical of Clipper Time, but 2 of those were make it longer. So it was mixed results. The students reported enhanced relationship with their teachers, decreased stress overall, decreased homework stress, and just help developing a balance with their busy schedules. I gave a lot of the quotes. There was a portion on the survey that allowed students to write comments, and they did. It was amazing how many students actually wrote comments. So I'm not going to go through all of these, but you can really see the themes that were there. A lot of it was about stress. A lot of it was about time management, developing relationships, even the break in the day. I think I've mentioned that before. One of the unanticipated benefits was even if I don't have work to get caught up on, I have like this mental downtime that really helps me recoup myself and is good during the day. I think the very end, I think the students may have thought I was thinking about getting rid of Clipper Time because I had a lot of students say, don't get rid of it, please keep it. And it's not the be-all and end-all, it's not the panacea, but I think overall the students like it. And they'll be honest if they have criticisms. I know my daughter certainly will be happy to criticize the principals. But even best thing Falmouth High has done is Clipper Time. We had several of those. Clipper Time is probably one of the best programs that Falmouth High has to offer. Keep it, love it. And then this is the, can I do it from here, Sharon?
You can try, I might say deny
So this is
that.
a video that, the Clipper Time in action from September of 2018. This is what Ryan Weber put together. You'll first see my, one of the assistant principals, Tom McManaman speaking. I figured if I'm here speaking to you, you didn't need to see me on video as well. So Tom gives a little, whoops. There we go.
Clipper Time is a 33-minute flexible block that occurs every day at Falmouth High School. On Monday, students meet with a mentor, faculty, or staff member who checks in with them on their academics mostly, how they're doing in their classes, and then helps them figure out where they're going to spend Clipper Time for Tuesday through Friday that week. Students are able to get extra help, extra support. They're able to check in on skills maybe they didn't understand to make up work. And as one of our teachers put it so well, Clipper Time is like after-school help built into the school day. For the wide variety of students we see every day at Falmouth High School, whether it's our students who take 4 AP classes, our students who need to work after school to support their families, to maybe get a younger sibling off the bus. It's hard with the hit and miss of after school to reach everyone. And what Clipper Time does is it allows us to reach each student each day at Falmouth High School. The reason we're continuing Clipper Time in this 3rd year of a pilot is because of the overwhelming support it's gotten from both faculty, staff, and students. Along with that, parents have also really vocalized how much they appreciate Clipper Time. What we've seen is a decrease in stress around homework, around time management. So last year we took a survey, and in that survey students really commented on how much their homework stress had decreased, how much it helped relationship building with teachers around the school, that they could go to them in a smaller group or even at times one-on-one, get the help they needed and move on to the next task. So we're still gathering data on a regular basis. We're looking at student grades, student work, we're looking at assessment results, and we're really trying to get a whole picture of Clipper Time and how it's helping our kids, not just through one measure like something like the MCAS, but really looking at the whole student, looking at the whole school and the whole school community and what we're able to do to help every kid every single day.
Clipper Time for me has helped me a lot basically, because sometimes I'm like nervous to ask questions during class, and so like with Clipper Time I can have that one-on-one experience with teachers to ask them any problems with like homework or any tests coming up, Also, the teachers, like it's a smaller class with students, so you have that better like one-on-one experience with teachers. And this has happened a lot with like homework-wise, and so you can get stuff done. Because in case I have like sports afterwards, it can help me get stuff done. And any questions I have in class I don't ask, I can ask the teachers.
Clipper time is really important because I can help get my homework done, and I receive like help from my teachers before a test. Like that was really huge yesterday for me. Yeah, I think it's a really important part of our schedule, and we need it. I think Clipper time is a great way to get your homework done or to meet teachers if you don't have time after school, especially because a lot of the time it's hard to coordinate with teachers, you know, to stay after a certain day and to get a ride home. But with Clipper time, you can do that any day, whenever you want.
So that is Clipper time in a nutshell. So I will, if you want to ask the actual students any questions, I will get out of the way and turn it over to them.
Okay, so Kelly?
So how many kids are in each, like when you go somewhere for Clipper time, how many kids are in there with one teacher? Like on a guess.
It gets, excuse me, capped off at 15. So never any more than 15, but I mean, I've gone into classes where there are the full 15 or there's only 5. So it depends on like the teacher of the day. Usually if there's like a test the next day, it'll be pretty full.
And never more than. Well, a teacher can increase it. So if a teacher says, I have 40 students taking AP statistics, I will open it up to 40 and you can come, we're gonna have a test, you know, later that day, you can come and students can take advantage of that. But typically we keep it at 15.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes, Andrea?
Along that line, I was also wondering about how many students per mentor, because I could imagine that Monday would take a lot of work just to figure out for each of those students what they've got coming up and how to schedule that the rest of the week.
We've tried to keep it anywhere between 8 and 12 per mentor, and what we've actually done is pretty much everybody in the building is a mentor. TAs, adjustment counselors, guidance counselors. The only people who aren't, and I would like to be, but my schedule is assistant principal, principal, and school nurses. Pretty much everybody else is a mentor. And you can, once you get the hang of it, kids kind of know where they need to be, or the teacher looks and says, you're getting a C in math, you're not going to the library to study that day, you're gonna go to your, don't you agree that you kind of get the hang of it?
Well, I know me and Georgia have the same like mentor for Clipper time, and Mr. Lawson gets it done. We have like maybe like 8, 10 kids or something in our class. He's done in the first 10 minutes of class, and then the rest of the time is basically like a regular Clipper time. You can do homework and whatever.
So that means then that there's access, like I feel like the mentors are doing more also behind the scenes in terms of knowing where they are in each of their courses, and you know, like you said, if you're getting a C in math, you must go, you know, for math this week. Right. So my other question was, because a lot of the comments were addressing reduced stress related to homework, and I know that 2 years ago there was a lot of, you know, digging into homework load, what that looks like, and it seems pretty amazing that an extra 30 minutes during the day made such a shift. So do you have any sense of what's really happening there? Because it, you know, they weren't saying we just had 30 minutes too much homework at night. They were saying it was hours, right? So it's just, I find it interesting.
My sense is, and they can speak to it better, I think since we've been talking a lot about homework and homework stress over the past few years since I've been principal, teachers have been very mindful of the amount of homework they're giving. You can probably speak better, I don't know. And as they get older though, the courses might get more challenging too, so I don't know, it might be hard to gauge, but I think one of the things is they get to actually, even if it's not time saved on doing homework, they actually get to say, I'm confused about this, can you just help me? So it helps doing the homework that evening, or if they were stuck the evening before, they're with a teacher that they can ask questions about it the next day. I don't know if you guys want to talk about that. Do you feel like homework has decreased over the past couple years, or no?
No, I think it's decreased a little bit, but I also think that personally for me, like, it's pretty easy for me to go home after school and take a nap, or like go on my phone or whatever. But when you're in the school environment, you have that teacher in front of you, are able to like get that help right then and there, and know that you like have that space. It's more of an incentive to sit there and get it done in that environment.
Yeah.
or also for like another possible concrete example is like last year we had a lot of English essays due, but often the limiting factor would not be the amount of work that you could put in. It would often be the interaction that you can get with the teacher. So if you need them to read over an essay or give feedback on something, you can get that immediately and very readily throughout the day. So that also helps to streamline our own work and also gives extra support along that way.
Natalie?
Yes, I was just going to ask, as a freshman you didn't have Clipper time, so how would you compare and contrast it from not having it to having it in terms of your depth of learning or how overall you feel?
To be quite honest, it's hard for me to remember what school was like when I didn't have Clipper time. But I can tell you that on, I think maybe the first week of school this year, for example, I think it was the whole week, we didn't have Clipper time because they had kids getting used to their classes, freshmen had to get adjusted and everything. And it was very difficult. I don't know, I would not want to go back to the way it was.
And we don't have it during MCAS weeks, and I often hear from students who aren't taking MCAS, if you're not grade 10 or you're not grade 9, taking bio in grade 9 or English and math in grade 10, students often complain to me about, please, why do we have to have this? I'm not taking MCAS, I want Clipper time. But it's a staffing and scheduling issue when it comes to MCAS proctoring.
Yeah, I think the biggest impact is the accessibility of the teacher, because I remember freshman year, I'd have to plan my schedule with the days that the teacher I wanted would stay after, and that was a big impact. And I was a freshman, I couldn't drive, and there was all different aspects, and Clipper time just has that availability.
Melissa?
So I see in one of the quotes it says, I use it for homework and mental breaks. I know that we've talked about the whole student in the last few years, and how do you think that this is accurate, and are you also using it as a little bit of a mental shift kind of thing?
Yeah, well, I think that even though it is an academic time, I personally have used it to do a lot of peer tutoring. And I know also last year, Kira and Q and I had the same chemistry class, and our teacher would often the day after a lab, instead of taking that class time that we didn't really have to go over the lab results and compare everything, we would do that the next day in a Clipper time. So I think that when it says when a student says it's a mental break, it's not necessarily meaning I'm sitting there and doing nothing. It's just a break from that direct instruction from a teacher sitting there in a class getting lectured, where it's more interactive, I guess. And it's just a time where you're doing something a little bit different.
Yeah. And it allows you to work at your own pace and get in your own zone instead of having to maybe talk to people you don't want to, or I don't know.
Leah?
So in looking at the history of Clipper time, was this done in another school system?
It was. So
Okay.
my first year, I had gone to a NEASC Model Schools Conference. I forget where it was located, but one of the workshops and seminars or presentations I saw was from a high school in New Hampshire that talked about this type of a flexible schedule block during their day, and mentioned that it satisfied the NEASC advisory requirement, which when I came on board, NEASC had just come through the high school in 2010, and one of the things we were cited for not having was the advisory component. So I thought, and I had some faculty members with me there, and we were all like, hey, maybe we could look into this. And they don't call it advisory anymore, they call it personalized learning. It still satisfies that prong. So we studied it for a year, and actually we had faculty members, I picked even skeptics. Well, we talked a lot about it at faculty meetings, and we picked faculty members to actually go and visit the school in New Hampshire, and even skeptics came back saying, in person you really have to see it, it really works. Mm-hmm. And I didn't believe it would work so well either, especially from the student perspective. Tom McManaman and I lost a lot of sleep when the day we were launching it. We were very, very nervous. But I think overall, do you guys have any negatives that you can think of it? And be honest, because we're always trying to make it better.
I don't now, but I remember when it was launching, I think teenagers were very quick to be I don't know, not want to change the way they're doing
what is this?
things. Yeah, be very stubborn, because I remember when it happened, I was why are we doing this? What is going on? But obviously now, I could never go back to the way it was. and I don't really have any complaints of like the Clipper time itself at all.
Well, I do work for a school system that has adopted Clipper time, and I've got to say that personally as a employee, I see great benefits because I get to go in and work with students during that time when I was not able to meet with students during the academic day because it was just too packed for them. So, and I have seen the stress results. So I know Clipper time has been a model for other districts also.
Yeah, we have a lot of, in fact, I think your principal, she came here, so she and I had talked about Clipper time, but yeah, a lot of school districts have heard about it and have come visited here or have asked me to go talk to their faculty about it, and are implementing a similar program.
Yeah, so it's gone beyond the Falmouth walls here. It's being successful.
Andrea? No, I'm sorry. Kelly had her hand up first.
So that was my first question. I was wondering if anyone had come to copy us. So that's awesome, because that's always a good thing. My other question was, so you said that the scheduling piece goes really fast on Mondays. Do you think that's also because you've done it for a while? Like, do you think that the freshmen struggle with how to figure it all out? Do they need more help? How does that go?
I can speak to that a bit. I suppose it's a little bit confusing at first, but with anything, you'll end up settling into a routine and end up finding what's really best for you. So for example, I think for the past 3 or 4 weeks, my Clipper time schedule has been almost identical from week to week. Like every Friday I go to the same place, every Tuesday through Thursday I go to another place. It's quite constant in that way, and I don't really see how it's too complicated. Most of the freshmen I know actually really enjoy it now. So
They pick it up quickly? Yeah. Thanks.
Andrea?
I just end up having so many questions because I'm really, really impressed with this and starting to like dig into this model and the flexible learning styles. I was wondering if you've gotten feedback from the teachers in terms of increased quality of homework, or have they seen the changes in academic performance based on pulling this time out? And
anecdotally, yes, teachers have reported to me that they really like Clipper time as well. They have, they just feel like it's a good time to talk one-on-one with students about their work. They have seen improved work. Many have said to me, you know, I would have science teachers in particular, if kids had a lab to do, they'd have 30 kids after school on, you know, their stay day, and all doing different things. Now they say, I can pull 10, 12 kids who all need work on that particular lab in Clipper time, and I'm not worried about that after school. So they've seen an improvement even in that, and being able to reach the students in the appropriate groupings and with the exact subject matter that they want to address. Do you guys feel that way, that the after school? I've had a lot of teachers say that the after school is, it was like hit or miss. And like you said, if you didn't have a ride, you didn't have a car, and if you knew, well, my science teacher stays on Wednesday, well, what if my math and English teacher stays on Wednesday too? I'm not going to necessarily be able to get to stay after with all three of them.
Because, you know, that's the piece, is change is really hard, right? And so to think of this idea and to really look at, you know, student achievement. And so by having more of the quality time focused on what they're trying to do, and by making those tweaks, I mean, there might even be other ways to look at the schedule to add more of those types of tweaks that are really there to benefit the students and to, you know, help make our educational system more robust. So
teachers have said too, it helps them just like keep track of student work and say, you know, and having students look at, you're still a little behind on this, let's get moving. And it's just an easier way for them to do that rather than the whole class right during Clipper time. They can help them catch up.
Bill?
For your advisors, how are kids selected? Is it a cross-section of kids? Do I get some 9th graders, 10th graders, 11th graders, or do I break down?
All grades, so like all of these students have just 12th graders in their mentor group, and they have the same mentor that they had last year.
Okay.
So we're trying to loop the mentors, and we do it by grade level. So we have all ninth graders in, mentor groups, 10th graders. But in the Clipper time, a teacher could pull different grade levels into his or her Clipper time, and I know teachers do that because sometimes they like an older student to be there to help a younger student maybe with some work as well.
Okay, excellent, thank you.
I have 2 students in the high school,
Yes.
and it is a plus. And I think some of the items mentioned too as well with regards to sports and after-school clubs and whatnot, it does give the kids a chance to get a heads up on the homework. And I think just as far as the organization side of it, I think just right out of the gates, any kid or any professional trying to get a handle on their schedule is a plus. Anytime you're kind of organizing and saying, looking ahead, what do I have now and when it is, things like that. And then just also, both from the student side and the teacher side, it's easy to say if there's a question and to say, oh, go ask a question, or the kid or the student or the teacher can say, oh, well, why isn't somebody approaching me? Or they might not be sending the signals necessarily, they're busy going off, and this gives a methodology for the discussions to happen, which I think is a good thing. So that's
one of the quotes in there too. We had I won't say a lot of students, but several, certainly maybe 8 to 10 students mentioned in the surveys that I don't have computer access at home. So doing work that requires computer access for homework is difficult for me, and Clipper Time allows me to get that done because I have the computer access and access to the teacher at school.
You might need more computer time on that, huh?
Yeah.
So thank you all.
Yes, thank
you
you very much.
I know senior year,
Excellent.
how's your college essays going?
Oh, don't stress them out.
They can tear families apart sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, thank you very much for taking your time and.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
please,
Thank you.
please believe us, we really like to hear your comments, okay, of things. This is how things can, new programs such as Clipper Time can come to be, okay? So please, let us hear from you. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, next on the agenda is a first read on policies having to do with gifts. And we are extremely lucky on our group to have an English teacher with editing skills galore. She has color-coded, things in here, and she has given you a table above each document, which when I read the first document, I go, oh, what's this and what's that? I forgot to look at the table above. So, you can see the edits that we are working on for these gifts. Does anybody have any questions or thought as they read these, and we'll bring these for a vote at the next meeting? Does anybody have any questions, Lee, or comments?
I just
Leah?
had a, do you want to introduce it a little bit first?
We're going to do that later in the agenda when we come to reports. She's going to give us a report of our whole new system.
No, just
Oh,
relate.
just this one? Oh, okay,
An
okay.
intro of where we are and what we've done so far. No?
I can.
Okay.
Sure. So I'm actually going to treat them in the reverse. KCD, which is the Public Gifts to Schools, you can see the timestamp at the very top, was the first of these three that the policy subcommittee started to talk about. And we had gotten into a couple of other policies along the way and had hit pause. And then in the mask newsletter that came out last February, there was an introduction of the middle policy, which is the online fundraising and solicitations or crowdfunding. And because of the cross-reference that was there, it really invited the discussion back into KCD. And in the interim, the central office team had created the procedural piece about how we were managing public gifts to schools, so that that question had come up. So there's the procedural element, and then the clarification on the policy element, and then bringing it all the way up to gifts and solicitations by staff. Fewer revisions there, but because it was cross-referenced in the new policy, we took time to go through that and give that a read as well. And we've had some questions that we have shared with our mask field representative, which is part of the work that I'll be able to talk about later. but also answered some of the questions that were raised at policy subcommittee so that we could embed those responses into the framework that we've shared with you tonight. Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Yes, Kelly?
So, I know there weren't a lot of changes to the first one, the gifts one, but this crowdfunding one, I read this and I was like, oh my, I'm not a policy person per se, but you guys like rocked this. This is so comprehensive. I thought it was really awesome and thought about everything possible. And I had one tiny little comment on, it says the superintendent shall have, third paragraph. The superintendent shall have final authority to approve any online fundraising activities by school employees. And I was wondering if it's supposed to be like school related, because obviously like if somebody that works for us is doing a crowdfunding thing for something totally unrelated, right? They could do that? Am I right or no?
Yes, so I'm gonna answer you by going up 2 paragraphs.
Okay.
So that very first section, the Falmouth Public Schools ensures, we kind of did that, or we drafted that as a preface to be clear about what we are offering and to try and clarify that it should be something related to their teaching and learning or an extension of teaching and learning, but that anything that's considered basic to the classroom, the district would help provide. So that might be something, if it's not clear enough in there, that might be a piece that we can.
No, I got that for sure. I totally got that piece. What I'm thinking is, we have people who work for us that might have a family member that's got a medical bill and they're an employee, but they're doing a fundraising activity
Yes.
for something completely unrelated to school. And I maybe I missed it, but
It's in here.
it is?
For educational purposes?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know it's
In the 4th paragraph?
Yeah.
Oh, the very first line there. Thank you. I know we talked about it.
Yeah, we did talk about that. What exactly? Okay.
Right?
Yes.
What? Yeah, I just didn't read it that way. That's fine. I'm okay.
So my only comment
just-
was that
I
there were
just
just a few edits to these, so it didn't seem like it was too much being changed, all of these policies, except for the last one seemed that there were multiple changes. Is that correct?
GBEBD, which is the crowdfunding one, is brand new.
Yeah.
This will be its first introduction into our manual,
And the red is just the revised for Falmouth Public Schools.
based on what Mask had introduced as their model policy language.
Yeah, so it's pretty much keeping with Mask, just a few edits.
Mhm.
Okay.
John?
I just had a point of order that I thought you said that we weren't discussing it, that we're just presenting it to us for the next time when we would discuss it.
Well, sometimes people have a question that maybe they need more guidance before, in the interim. That's
Okay.
why.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Andrea?
To that point, I think that we wanted to make sure that everybody had a little sense of what we were grappling with as you're going through this first read. And there are some pieces in there that are real challenges for, principals, the staff, the superintendent, for everybody involved, that we wouldn't want anybody who's trying to do anything, related to gifts or through crowdfunding to inadvertently get tripped up when they're actually trying to do the right thing and follow this. So we're trying to look at it with that eye. So we're asking everybody to do that as well when you're reviewing that.
Okay, and anytime if you come up with another question, before the next meeting, before we will take a final vote on it, you could email me or Sonia, okay? Okay? Okay, so I guess we're ready then to conduct routine business. So, is there a motion to approve the minutes of September 11th?
To approve the minutes of September 11th.
And the second?
A second.
Okay, is there any discussion? Kelly?
I have one tiny edit. So on the second page, new superintendent's induction program, it says, heard Maureen LaCroix introduce herself and explain her work with the new oh, no, never mind. No, I read it wrong. Ignore me. No change.
Okay.
Sorry, I read it completely wrong.
Okay.
I hate to be this person, but my name's not hyphenated. Just so you know. Sorry.
Is it two last names?
No.
Or is it, it's just a
Coming
middle
with
name?
my middle name, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, no other edits or comments? Okay, so all those in favor of approving these minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Okay, next we will do the superintendent's report.
All right, thank you. I wanted to just kind of update what I've been doing the last couple weeks. So I've continued on the listening and learning tour. I've now been to 4 schools to talk with staff, 4 schools to talk with students, and 2 schools to talk with parent groups. I also had coffee hour at the administration building. So I'm getting lots of feedback from everyone. So, and I appreciate that this group is continuing to support that and reach out as well and learn. I think that's a great alignment, and I appreciate that. One of the things that came out several times throughout the discussion was about the seashore activity with the 5th graders. So I did reach out and had a conference call to learn more about this experience in Truro. So, and I am planning a visit with students later this month so that I can understand. It was overwhelmingly, please do not take away seashore. So I'm here to say we will not take away seashore. That was good. I've also attended a VIPS board meeting and just to learn more about their everyday, trying to, we've shared a lot about all of the wonderful mentoring programs that's in place. But it was great to kind of get the background and understand the operations behind it. I'm very impressed with VIPS. I also attended the Rotary meeting, and it was, I learned several things that the Rotary actually supports our students, not just a couple of the mentoring programs that they do, but just the aside of how they help, fund some dinners and such, that they're really involved. And the leadership, the service piece is a great service for our district, so I'm glad to have that connection. There's been 2 superintendents meeting, one Cape and Island and one Old Colony that I have attended. And then just to kind of round out and talk about the ALICE training a little bit this morning. You heard from Chief Small and Chief Dunn. We are, so now that the administrators are trained, we are taking on the advisement of ALICE training, the small steps and trying to make, so our next is to actually train school staff and a portion of it, not the full training, and then do the planning for the implementation. So, and then we are going to take a first step this year in a drill. So we want to report back at some point on our entire implementation plan for the year, and just, and how that first drill went. So just wanted to let you know that. And then just to add on to the ASHA training that Chief Small had mentioned, Sonia Tillier attended. That is our representation at Bessie. I wanted to make sure that we were also, and so we got a lot of feedback on that. So I want to say finally on that piece of it that I'm very impressed with the police, the fire and rescue, and the school district's collaboration on all things with safety and security and moving forward in the direction. It's great to have the support as a superintendent, so I truly appreciate that. So thank you.
Okay. Andrea?
Could I ask you for a clarification on that then, in relation to the ALICE training, what you just described? Because it, from our earlier presentation, made it sound like, oh, there's a couple different ways we could go, and we're not really sure which program we want to go with. It sounds like we've then decided it will be ALICE, or?
No. So as Chief Dunn, thank you for asking the clarifying question. I don't want that to be confusing. As Chief Dunn said, there's many trainings out there. We're actually being trained and to understand all of them, and there's a lot of crossover. And so after the training today, after the ASHA training, after the input from everyone there, some of the crossovers that make sense for our next step. So we're looking at, a year and a half, 2 years to kind of make this plan. But we did feel after what we learned today that a very first next step, we would be remiss if we didn't take a step in the direction. And the step that we had decided on was really crosses over many of the trainings. So as Chief Dunn said, we're kind of taking from this and that to make what makes sense for Falmouth and that next step. So we're being very thoughtful about what the plan's going to be, and we'll have a more a full plan. This just happened this morning. So but I did want to let you know that we felt there was it was important to take the next step as we're moving through for this year. So we are doing that, yes. So we do have a schedule for our staff to be trained, and the principals are I think feel really good about that next step.
Okay, are there any other questions? Thank you, Lori. Next, we will hear from Sonia, the Assistant Superintendent's report.
Thank you. So first is that the spring 2018 MCAS data for both achievement and accountability have arrived. We are embargoed until at least Thursday to have any discussions. However, we've started to look at that and identify some trends, and we're encouraged by what we are able to share when we share it. We are also planning for the release of the parent-guardian reports, and we'll be setting up a timetable and get communications out from each school about when families can expect to receive the reports coming home with their children. And the other piece is that through the instructional leadership team this year, we're studying Carol Dweck's work on growth mindset, and so we're really looking at different data sets and taking slices of data and looking at that against what our beliefs are and how we respond. And I think that the presentation that Mary and the students gave tonight about Clipper time, you can see that there's an alignment in just the general thought and response to student needs. Professional development today was a half day, and next week is the second of our 2 full days, which is all Cape Day. And we have a range of our colleague groups, departments, and teams will be participating in the offerings through Cape Cod Collaborative. And in addition, just on the general theme of professional development, we are going to continue with our year 3 cohort for accelerated learner professional development with Janice Barron for our elementary educators. And we've also been in touch with Dr. Jessica Hockett around differentiated instruction and bringing some of those principles and strategies to some teams of teachers who have not previously had the opportunity to go in depth with her. So there's a real rich complement of professional development that we're working making sure that we get our constellation just right as we align everything. Federal entitlement grants. Our grant applications for Titles 1, 2, 3, and 4 have all been submitted, approved, money deposited, and we're excited to start spending. So we're able to advance and continue the projects that we've been able to fund previously, and we're looking at a couple of additional ones by way of adding in Title 3 to support our English language learners. Perkins is forthcoming. We were really excited. We were able to make a jump on some additional supplies and opportunities through the end of year spending last year. So we've had to restructure our budget a little bit for this year. Really great problem for us to creatively solve. And then the coordinated program review is in, and there's some corrective action in particular that I wanted to talk about around the vocational piece, the career vocational technical education, or CVTE, because we're really encouraged in as much as it aligns with what our growth plan has been. So yeah, to hear it under the terms of corrective action or prescriptive feedback sounds a little uncomfortable. But the exciting part is that it aligns with our long-range growth plan and developing internships and partnerships through our advisories. So on that level, it's nice to know that DESI's plan for us and our plan for us are really synced up. So we're really excited about that part of it. And then one other piece that I just wanted to be able to highlight, and I'm sure you'll hear more about it both from Dr. Dorr as well as from my colleague Cindy Tugis, is the Tech for Learning initiative in which we're going to engage. And it's a team that we're putting together to really study how we use instructional technology to support learning in the service of teaching and learning, really, which we're going to kick off with our team's attendance at the MassQ conference. I was about to say later this month. It's really next month. We're right on the edge. So we're really excited about that opportunity and really being strategic in how we're looking at the relationship between the 2 offices and really the broader program of the district. And so I was able to join both Lori and Cindy at Mullen Hall the other day, and we just did a walkthrough and looked at the ways in which students were engaging with technology to support and enrich their learning. And it was really exciting to kind of have that really guide the conversations that we get to open up with the team. So that was a lot, really fast, so thank you for listening.
Awesome. Are there any questions? Yes?
It's actually not related to that, but I know there's an equity and access conference going on through DESE. Are administrators from Falmouth going?
So I actually just spoke to our Director of Student Services. I spoke to Dr. Woodward about it yesterday, and so that was one of the things that we were looking at, because under Lori's leadership, we're really trying to look at how we develop teams to attend and how it threads into our work in the long range. So we had both just looked at that yesterday, so we haven't settled on a team just yet, but that is something we are definitely considering.
That looks good.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, next we will hear from the Director of Finance and Operations.
Hi, good evening. I have a couple of items just to keep you updated. As some of you may know from your kids, we are moving beyond styrofoam at our schools. We've been replacing styrofoam trays and plates with 100% compostable trays and plates. Most of our schools have already made the switch. We've kind of running down some of the stock that was still there, but that should be done this month if there's any left. The next step is removing plastic straws. The only challenge about that is it's hard to get paper straws, but as soon as they become available, hopefully in November or December, we'll be moving towards those. And I'd like to compliment Andrea Burns, who's our new Director of Food Services, for helping to move those items along as she's learning the job too, so which is a compliment to her. Other things that this summer, the auditorium seats at Lawrence went in beautifully. They look great. I know some folks still will pine for those pine seats or whatever those wood seats were. Yes. But that's just an example of some of the projects that we did throughout the summer. And I have to compliment the head custodians at the schools who, you know, they work these projects in as they're doing the summer work. And we did some work at East Falmouth, a little bit of work at T-Ticket, obviously Lawrence. So compliments to the head custodians as we do that work. On that note, we did meet with the FinCom and Budget Subcommittee to just review the capital requests that you all approved in July. It looks like they will be sort of recommending those move forward also to the November town meeting. So we would appreciate town meeting support on those. That meeting went terrific. Again, that's a compliment to the Budget Subcommittee and the FinCom representatives on building a nice relationship that we've had over the past couple of years. And then finally, sort of safety and security seems to be the theme of the night. You know, sometimes we don't stop and say, hey, we actually got this one checked off the list. We've made a 3-year goal to upgrade all of our school video security systems and standardize them into commercial grade video systems across the districts, and we got there this summer. We have one last run through with the vendor to sort of identify there might be a dead spot, or a blind spot, I should say, at one school or another school with cameras, and we're going to do that. But all of our systems are standardized, compatible, and highly professional, which then allows us potentially to do some other things down the road. So that's a nice little victory for the school district over the last 3 years.
Thank you. John?
Thank you.
Patrick, just a suggestion on the straws. Our hotel's food and beverage have gone to cornstarch, 100% cornstarch.
Yeah, I'll ask Andrea to look that in.
And because a friend of mine has a high volume restaurant, and he went with the paper and wasn't really pleased with it. Again, they're anecdotal, but I'll share the information.
We'll be sampling.
I saw Leah's hand, then Nana?
Patrick, will we get a cheat sheet for
Yep.
town meeting prior
need-
to our precinct meetings?
We need confirmation that it's actually going to town meeting. So we haven't received that sort of official confirmation. As soon as we receive confirmation that those are going to be presented or given to town meeting, then we'll make that cheat sheet up.
Okay.
But
I would
that's
suggest
work in the
the
past.
earliest, the better, so we can kind of read up
Yep.
on it and ask you any questions
Sure.
if needed.
Before the precinct
Before the
meetings, yeah.
precinct meetings, because that's a little awkward when you
Yeah.
don't know the answer. Okay.
Natalie?
And just very quickly back to the trays and the straws, there's a significant cost difference between styrofoam and
There is.
Yeah.
It is a cost difference, but some of the changes in statutes, let alone sort of public opinion, make this a requirement.
Plus, it has come up on the listening and learning
Yes,
tour.
yes.
And so it has been a request.
Okay, thank you, Patrick. And there are written reports from other directors attached, and I will reiterate, if you have a question, please, you can send it to them via email. Okay, anything that you don't want, you think of later or whatever. So, first, a report from the chair. I would say VIPS sent out a request that they need more volunteers for school. There's a lot of school events underway now, things that need more hands. There are so many opportunities for us, was sent to us, but also to the public. I mean, we're nationally known for our VIPS, and I'm not hyperbolizing. We truly are. So it's a great organization. But if they ask for help, then I'm glad to pass it on. Later on, I will say something about the policy meeting. But is there a committee member who has a report, not necessarily a subcommittee subject? Anything?
FEF, the FEF donations at work is on October 2nd from 5 to 6:30. So as the FEF liaison, saying just remember to come.
Okay. Any comments in here? Okay, so.
Well, I wasn't going to really report on anything officially, but I did want to mention that I went to the Clipper game on Friday, the football game, and it was a great way to kick off the school year. Friday night under the lights, the band did a great job, the drum majors did a great job, of course the players, and it was a lot of fun. I just wanted to make mention of that it's always fun to go to a Friday night game.
Yes, it is.
Okay. The next item is a bill schedule. Do we have bills to review? We don't have any at this meeting. Okay, it'll be the next one.
Once a month.
Once a month, yes. Okay, I just mentioned it because it's new. I don't want to mess anything up. Okay. Are there any requests for follow-up information? Kelly?
I don't know if we have a procedure for whether or not we weigh in on other people's town meeting articles, but Chief Small mentioned the Kevlar armor that he's requesting for that warm, cold, hot, whatever that was. And since in a situation that those would be needed, there's a high likelihood that it might be one of our buildings. So I don't know if we can take a stance on that, but I would like us to at least find out or weigh in or whatever, because that's something that would truly benefit the district.
Okay, and
Alice training.
excuse me?
The Alice training, if we could have the presentation by Chief Dunn or whoever.
I wrote it down to actually schedule that for you. before.
Yeah,
Thank
that would
you.
be great.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you.
Any other follow-up requests? Okay. Subcommittee reports. Nothing from my fave, that would be the collaborative, right? Okay.
Well, I can actually make mention of that. So we, Sandwich had voted to sell the wing school. So we're exploring future potential homes for Waypoint. But we're a few years off on that, so.
Yeah.
But I just thought you.
Yeah, Mr. Hilton's always looking ahead. That's one thing I miss I miss that spot, okay? You learn a lot about what's going on in the Cape from that
I'm
assignment.
honored to be a part of it, and you made a big impact over there. They speak highly of you, Terry.
Oh, thank you. Keep talking now.
It's easy to say stuff that's true.
Okay, so what I'm going to say from the policy is, first of all, I want to do some shout outs to Ann Barnes, who does a lot of work for us, and we never hear her name. She just does so much digging and never complains and everything. So I also wanted to give a shout out to Melissa and Megan and Andrew, who this year have homework assignments thicker than those kids that were sitting over there. Because we've changed the process, we have more reading, we have less kind of research, which Sonny will now tell us we're having a new system to run our policy updates. And since she talked with James Hardy, who is our field representative, she has graciously said she will explain it to us all.
Thank you. So what we have in front of us right now is approximately a 10-year timeline of reviewing the entire manual. So by the start of the new year, the new calendar, it's very exciting. By the start of the next calendar year, we will have completed the first 8 sections of the manual. We're taking them 2 sections at a time, 1 month at a time. And so the homework is that we have to read through all of the policies in those identified sections, redline them, mark them up, annotate them, and bring them back to the next session. And there are some sort of blanket action items that have been identified about the use of pronouns, references to the district that we agreed on up front that'll be changed across all of the policies. And then there are some more nuanced items that we know are going to generate some discussion. And Jim Hardy, who is our field representative, has his own meeting operation, if you will. I don't have a better word at the moment, sorry. And so he's going to run us through really efficiently moving through those policies. So we're looking at 2 sections and approximately a 2-hour meeting based on the homework and pre-reading that we do. The ideal concept is that then when we are complete with this process, hopefully by early May of next year, we'd be able to present at the first May meeting the fully reviewed policy manual. What we would like to be able to do, which we had talked about at the meeting, is punctuate meetings over the course of the year where we give you updated sections of the policy manual so that we're not then, at the end of 10 months saying to you, okay, now here's the whole manual. So we're looking at the pacing for that. It is definitely ambitious. However, based on previous districts' experience with this exercise, it also seems achievable. As long as we stick to, as Terry said, our homework assignments.
Just a point of clarification, you guys are mentioning this field person, Jim, and it has nothing to do with our field, just to clarify that this is about.
That's his title.
No, I'm just making sure public knows.
He's called the field.
Yeah.
So he's working in the field of education, so he's stepping out of his office.
He's
to be with
Mass.
us. Yes, he's from the Mass Association of
Mass
School Committees.
to support us in revising our
Comprehensive review of our policy manual. Yes.
Okay.
He actually sits at our meetings with us, which is a big difference too. And he doesn't let us diverge. He doesn't say, I'll be gentle in not letting you diverge. He's just
very clear.
Very clear. But one thing, some work is cut down in that the research.
Can we have him come next meeting?
Excuse me? What did you say?
No, I said,
We
can
have him to our next
meeting?
Oh, yeah.
I could not say that, I'm sorry.
Oh, hey, don't raise your hand anymore because I'm not calling you. No. Okay, last week I was talking about relevant comments. Now I'm telling him not to raise
Fair
them.
enough.
They'll never elect me again. Okay, anyway. Seriously though, it is a lot of reading and work, and the other little thing is that this is the last one. This is what I wanted to ask your expertise. This last one that's on our agenda tonight will be the last one that we'll vote on for the year until May. Am I correct in saying that?
Unless there's a particular need to adjust language in a policy that arises during the year, we would be, even if things are updated now, like for example in sections A and B, we'll ultimately be taking one vote on a completely revised manual in May. So any adjustments we make wouldn't actually be enacted until that vote in May on the whole manual. But we are also given the latitude that if there is a particular policy or two, or however many, that specific language needs to be addressed because we're resolving a situation where there's a regulation change, we can do that, but it has to come back to the first read, second read, and take action protocol.
Okay. Sorry to take up time, but this is a whole new process. Okay, so. Does anybody have any comments on the committee from having worked with him the other day, Andrea? Or?
No, he seems great, and I think that, you know, we're setting a very strict schedule, and, you know, everybody wants to get through this, so I think we will.
Megan?
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for
Thanks
taking
for
it
putting me
on.
on policy, Terry. It's a great way to learn.
Yeah, Andrea?
Just what you brought up mask. I know this is a little bit out of order. I should have done this on a committee member report, but there's been a little bit of talk about conferences and going as teams and the benefit of doing that. And I know that the mask conference coming up in November can be hard for people to get to, you know, during the working day. But it is just in Hyannis. We're really lucky it's in our backyard, and I learned a lot at it last year. And I think it's hard, you know, if you don't have other people from the committee there, because you come back with great ideas, but it's hard to transfer that enthusiasm without, you know, some backup, somebody else who's heard the same thing. So I would encourage anybody else who would go, and if we could figure out a way to team up and benefit from everything we can learn there, that would be great.
It is worth the time, for sure.
How do we go about registering? Is that through you?
Sharon. For
Okay.
sure. As usual, Sharon
can
does
send out
everything for
a
us.
blurb about it again, right, with information to all of us. Thank you, Sharon. John?
I'm not trying to be a contrarian to that point, Andrea, but I think the whole benefit of it is to be the fish on your own, trying to make the relationships with other district school committee members. So if you did go as a team, to then when you're there, break up and make some relationships rather than just being amongst yourself. And then, because I think when I went the year before, that was invaluable to get to talk to, and a lot of the ones I talked to the folks from Linfield and Danvers and whatnot about their fields and whatnot, which I wouldn't have got that if, you know, I enjoy Megan's company, but if I was sitting there just talking to Megan or whomever, or Andrea or whoever on a committee, I wouldn't have got that. So just a thought.
I couldn't agree more, John. When I went a few years ago, it was encouraging to speak with other committee members from other areas, although I wouldn't mind spending the day with some of our own committee members. It was definitely beneficial to speak with other people and hear other people's thoughts on things.
Okay, is there any other business for tonight? Okay, I guess Melissa will.
I'd like to make a motion, excuse me, before I make the motion to adjourn, I'd like to make an announcement that the next meeting of the school committee will be at the regular venue at the administration building. And now I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
I will second that.
Okay, roll call vote?
Yes.
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 Thank you. Oh, I love this little camera. I just don't want to wreck these tables.